You think you know the Elvis songs: Heartbreak, Hotel, Hound Dog, Jailhouse Rock. The big ones. The ones everyone knows. You know the movie songs too. The silly ones. The fun ones. The ones that paid the bills. But there's a recording that sits apart from all that. A song that tells a different story. It's a piece of music that was recorded, paid for, and then buried. It was locked away, hidden from the public for almost 40 years. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a bad take. It was a finished master recording by Elvis Presley at the height of his fame. And the people in charge decided you should never hear it. The story of why is the story of Elvis in the 1960s. It's a story about art and commerce. It's a story about a caged singer and the machine that ran his life. To understand why they hid this song, you have to understand the world Elvis lived in back then. The 1950s were a blur, a lightning strike. Elvis came out of nowhere and changed everything. The music was raw, it was dangerous, it scared parents and thrilled kids. He was a force of nature. Then came the army. He went away for 2 years, he served his country, he came back a different man, or at least he was presented as a different man. The wild energy was toned down. The sneer was replaced with a smile. The leather jacket was swapped for a clean-cut suit. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, had a plan. The plan wasn't about making groundbreaking music anymore. The plan was about making money. Lots of it. The easiest way to do that was movies. A movie meant a soundtrack album. A soundtrack album meant record sales. Movie tickets and record sales. It was a perfect self-sustaining formula, so Elvis went to Hollywood. The first few movies after the army were good. G.I. Blues was a huge hit. Blue Hawaii was even bigger. The soundtracks sold millions. The formula worked. So the Colonel doubled down. Then he tripled down. The movie scripts got thinner. The songs got weaker. They were written to order, often by the same small group of songwriters. They needed a song about clams. They got one. They needed a song about yoga. They got one. The music wasn't driving the story anymore, the location was. A movie in Hawaii needed Hawaiian-sounding songs. A movie about boat racing needed boat songs. Elvis was a professional. He went to the studio, he sang the songs, he did his job. But people who were there said you could feel his frustration. He was a brilliant musician, trapped in a system that didn't care about music. It only cared about product. He would warm up in the studio by singing the blues. He'd sing gospel music with his guys between takes. He'd sing the music he loved, the music that had soul. When the producer would call him in, it was time to record a song about a big teddy bear or a crawfish. And he would do it. He'd give a professional performance, but the fire wasn't always there. How could it be? This was the world in 1964. Elvis was deep in the Hollywood grind. The next movie on the schedule was about a traveling carnival. The main character was a drifter. A tough guy who gets a job at the carnival, gets into fights, and falls for a girl. The working title was a single word. A word that described a carnival worker, someone who sets up and tears down the rides. It was a good, strong title for a movie. Naturally, the movie needed a title song. This was standard practice. The title song would be the big single. It would promote the movie. It would sell the soundtrack. For a project this important, they went to two of the best. They went to Otis Blackwell and Winfield Scott. If you don't know those names, you definitely know their songs. These weren't the guys who wrote the silly filler tracks. These were the real deal. And Otis Blackwell wrote Don't Be Cruel. He wrote All Shook Up. He wrote Fever. Winfield Scott was his writing partner on hits like Rediscovered. These men understood the real Elvis. They knew how to write a song with a groove. They knew how to write a song with attitude. They were a direct link back to the explosive energy of the 1950s. So they got the assignment. Write a title song for the new movie, a song about a roustabout, a tough, wandering carnival worker. They got to work and wrote a song. It wasn't a cute, happy pop song, it was a real piece of music. It had a dirty, bluesy guitar riff, it had a driving, relentless rhythm. It was built on the kind of blues structure that Elvis loved. The lyrics were perfect for the character. They weren't about having fun at the fair. They were about the life of a drifter, a man who isn't tied down, a man who works hard, moves on, and doesn't make promises. It had a sense of danger to it. The words painted a picture of a guy you probably wouldn't want to mess with. I'm a working man with a working man's hands. It was tough. It was honest. It sounded like something Elvis could sink his teeth into. Elvis went into the recording studio in March 1964. The session was at Radio Recorders in Hollywood, a place where he had made some of his greatest recordings. He had the A-team of studio musicians with him, the Wrecking Crew, guys like Tommy Tedesco on guitar and Hal Blaine on drums. These were the best players in the business. They could play anything. They laid down the track, and it was electric. The band locked into the groove immediately. The guitar riff was hypnotic. The bass and drums were a locomotive. It was pure, raw rhythm and blues. And then Elvis stepped up to the microphone. He wasn't phoning this one in. You can hear it in his voice. This wasn't a song about a beach party. This was real. He attacked the lyrics. He sang with grit. There's a snarl in his voice that had been missing from many of his recent recordings. He sounds invested. He sounds like he believes the words he's singing. He sounds like the character. It's the sound of the 1950s Elvis reborn in 1964. It's lean, mean, and powerful. There are no strings, no goofy backup vocals, just a tight band and a singer giving it his all. They finished the recording. It was a perfect take, a master. It had everything. A great riff, a powerful vocal, a killer groove. It was one of the best things he had recorded in years. It was the obvious choice for the title song. It was a potential hit single. It was everything it was supposed to be. And then someone said no. We don't know for sure who made the final decision. It could have been the movie's producer, Hal Wallace. It could have been the executives at Paramount Pictures. It could have been Colonel Parker himself, or maybe it was a consensus among all of them. But someone in a suit, sitting in an office, listened to this powerful piece of rock and roll and decided it was wrong. Why? Why would they reject a song this good? The reason is simple. It was too good. It was too real. It was too raw. Think about the product they were selling. They were selling a fun, family-friendly Elvis movie. A musical comedy, a light-hearted romp. The posters would show Elvis smiling, holding a guitar, with a pretty girl on his arm. The trailers would show him singing happy songs and getting into playful mischief. They were selling a fantasy. The song that Blackwell and Scott wrote was not a fantasy. It was reality. It sounded tough. It had a dark edge. The lyrics weren't about falling in love and living happily ever after. They were about a restless soul who was never going to settle down. The music didn't sound like a Hollywood musical. It sounded like a smoky bar on a Saturday night. The song was a threat to the formula. It didn't fit the brand. The brand was safe, smiling, Army veteran Elvis. This song was a reminder of the dangerous, hip, shaking Elvis from before the Army. The Elvis that parents groups had protested. The powers that be didn't want to remind people of that Elvis. That Elvis was unpredictable. The new Elvis was a guaranteed return on investment. So the decision was made, the song was out, it was to be replaced, they needed a new title song, one that was more upbeat, more fun, more suitable for a frothy Hollywood movie. The job went to another team of songwriters, Bill Giant, Bernie Baum, and Florence Kay. This trio were Hollywood pros. They were experts at writing songs to order for Elvis movies. They could write a song about any topic, in any style, on a tight deadline. They were reliable, they understood the formula, they knew what the producers wanted. They wrote a new song with the exact same title, but that's where the similarity ended. The new song was everything the old one wasn't. It was bright and poppy, it had a bouncy, almost silly rhythm. The lyrics were simple and repetitive. It was catchy in a commercial jingle kind of way. It was completely safe. There was no danger, no grit, no soul. It was a perfect piece of product. Elvis went back to the studio. He had to record the new title song. You have to wonder what he thought. He had already recorded a killer version, a real rock and roll song. Now, he was being asked to sing this lightweight pop number instead. But he was a professional. He did his job. He sang the new song. He gave a perfectly fine performance. It's not a bad song. Not really. It's just nothing. It's a piece of fluff. It's forgettable. It served its purpose. It fit neatly into the movie and the soundtrack album. It didn't scare anyone. It didn't challenge anyone. It sold the product. And the original recording, the bluesy, gritty, powerful version, it was put on a shelf. The tape was filed away in the RCA vaults. And that was that. It was effectively erased from history. The movie came out. The new safe title song was released. The soundtrack album was sold. The formula kept rolling along. No one in the general public knew that another completely different and vastly superior song even existed. The people who made it knew. Elvis knew, the songwriters knew. But they moved on. So it was just part of the business. For decades, the song was a ghost. A rumor known only to the most hardcore collectors and Elvis historians. A footnote in session logs. A song title with a question mark next to it. No one had heard it. Most people assumed the tape was lost forever or that it had been recorded over. It was a piece of lost Elvis history. Years passed. Elvis's career went through its ups and downs. The Hollywood movies finally ended. He made a triumphant comeback in 1968. He went back to playing live concerts. He started recording serious, soulful music again in Memphis and Nashville. Then came the Las Vegas years. the jumpsuits, the triumphs, and the tragedies. And then he was gone. After he died, his record label RCA began the long process of going through the vaults. They started to catalog every take of every song he ever recorded. It was a massive undertaking. They found alternate takes of famous hits. They found unreleased songs. They found studio chatter. A treasure trove for fans. Box sets were released. Collectors were thrilled. Still, the original title track remained missing. The master tape was nowhere to be found. It seemed it was truly gone for good, a victim of poor filing or a decision to wipe the tape to save money. The story could have ended there, but it didn't. The song survived, but not on a master tape in a corporate vault. It survived on a little acetate disc. An acetate is a type of record used to make a temporary copy of a recording, usually for the songwriter or producer to listen to. They wear out quickly, they are fragile. One of these acetates had been given to one of the songwriters, Winfield Scott. He kept it. It sat for decades among his possessions, a forgotten memento from a job he did a long time ago. After he passed away, his wife was going through his things. She found this old disc. She played it. And there it was. That dirty guitar riff, that driving beat, and that unmistakable voice singing with a fire she hadn't heard in years. She knew what she had. This wasn't just an old record. It was a piece of history, a lost masterpiece. News of the discovery started to spread among the Elvis fan community. People who had only heard rumors could now hope to one day hear the actual recording. Eventually, the recording made its way to the people at RCA who were in charge of Elvis's catalog, specifically to a man named Ernst Jorgensen. He was the producer and historian who had dedicated his life to finding and preserving Elvis's work. When he heard it, he knew instantly. This was the one. The lost track. The legend was real. Even though the sound quality from the old acetate wasn't perfect, it was good enough. They could clean it up, they could restore it, they could finally let the world hear it. In 2003, almost 40 years after it was recorded and rejected, the song was finally released. It appeared on a compilation called Elvis Second to None. It was tucked in among his greatest hits. For the first time, the public could hear the song that was supposed to be. The reaction was stunning. Fans were blown away. Critics were amazed. This wasn't another piece of movie filler. This was a powerhouse rock and roll performance. Where had this been all these years? Why was this hidden away? It sounded more alive, more vibrant than almost anything else he was recording in that period. Listening to it feels like opening a time capsule. It's a glimpse into an alternate reality. What if they hadn't rejected this song? What if this had been the single in 1964? It was a much stronger, more credible song than the movie filler he was releasing at the time. A hit single with this kind of raw energy could have reminded people of the real Elvis. It could have pushed back against the tide of silly movie songs. It might have given him the confidence to fight harder for better material. Of course, one song probably wouldn't have changed everything. The Hollywood machine was too big and too profitable to be stopped by a single bluesy B-side. The Colonel's formula was set in stone. But it's a tantalizing what-if. It's proof that the artist was still in there. The fire was still burning. He just needed the right song to ignite it. The story of this one recording is the story of Elvis Presley in a nutshell. It's about a brilliant, instinctual artist who was forced to compromise his art for the sake of business. He was put in a golden cage, and for the most part he went along with it. But every now and then, when given the right material, he would show you the real Elvis. He would remind you that underneath the movie star smile was the soul of a blues singer. The people in charge rejected the song because it was too authentic. It didn't fit their marketing plan. They wanted a cartoon character, and this song was a real person. They chose the safe, forgettable pop jingle over the dangerous, memorable piece of rock and roll. They buried the art and promoted the product. And for 40 years they got away with it. But you can't keep great music buried forever. Eventually it finds its way out. It finds its audience. Today you can listen to both versions. You can listen to the bouncy, happy version that they put in the movie. It's fine, it does its job. Then you can listen to the one they hid, the one with the snarl in the voice and the blues in the guitar. The difference is night and day. One is a product, the other is a performance. One is a job, the other is a passion. One was made to sell movie tickets, the other was made to be felt. It's a powerful lesson. It shows how easily true artistry can be sidelined in the pursuit of profit. It's a testament to the vision of songwriters like Blackwell and Scott, who never forgot what made Elvis great. And most of all, it's a thrilling 2-minute and 13-second blast of pure Elvis, unleashed from the vault, a ghost from the past that sounds more alive than ever. A song that proves that even in the darkest days of his Hollywood years, the king of rock and roll was still in there, waiting for his chance to sing. The song was I'm a Roostabout.